possible that this little baby sun, upon being kicked out into a 3,600-year-long orbit to back and from around that big blue-black monster sun out there, that it caught in tow planet Nibiru. It's very possible. Now, that would explain where it's been and why the story comes back and forth about the Nephilim. Because it's reported in, go back into this, all in the book. Read the book. Took me 11 years to research it and 7 years to write it. So, I can only tell you that anything is possible. Now, there's still one other planet unaccounted for. Then we're down to 9, which we have. Pluto's back in as a planet again. Did you know that?
Yeah, didn't they call it what was the name for it? I don't know. Was it Junior Planet or something?
I don't know. I'm glad Pluto's back because I like Pluto, okay? All right. So, if there's any truth to any of this, it would sure explain a lot. Because we believe that this little baby sun, which the Book of Revelation is identified as being called wormwood, it tells why. You gotta read it. Chapter 8, the whole chapter, read it. By the way, one more quick thing, and then we'll get off the book thing.
Okay.
It's reported that the Book of Revelation was written through John the Baptist, who was in exile for his life on the island of Patmos in the Aegean Sea, but it was delivered to him by an angel. He delivered the information from Jesus Christ. It says so at the very beginning of the Book of Revelation. It identifies who wrote it. Christ himself says, I wrote it. And if those who read it are blessed, and those that understand it are blessed even more. So, it's worth a read. Certainly at least chapter 8 tells all about wormwood. Now, alright, if there's a Nibiru, we're going to find out. I can't tell you how long. I can only tell you this. I believe that we make it through September, October, alright, September of 2016 without any major global earthquake, tragedy, or tsunami, or some other stupid thing. By the way, there's been all of those things that just mentioned. We will have escaped the cone of the escape magnetism of this planet disengaging from its dance with the sun. God, I hope that didn't sound. Did you understand that?
I did understand. So, basically it's still in a position where it's screwing with our sun. And it'll gradually cease around April or May of 2016. Is it also messing with some of the outer planets?
Messing with all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's messing with all of them. Of course it does. It's a wave. Okay, let's put it this way. It's a mass wave machine. Its mass alone moves space. It's getting kind of deep. But you got the point, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, once this thing disengages, right now, they're electromagnetically dancing with each other and causing each other irritation. It's like two magnets. You've played with magnets, haven't you?
Yeah, and I was
one side they jam together, and the other side you can't. There's no way to touch them together.
Yeah, I was just explaining that to my son tonight. he gets a little concerned about these things, and he asks me about them. And I tell him, I say, if it happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. If I find out it's true, I'll tell him. But I refuse to give scare tactics and say, yeah, this is what's going to happen if I don't know for sure.
It's been going on every 3,600 years. Once. Mm-hmm. Now, it just happens to be, what is it? We have 7.5 billion people on the planet. Am I close?
Well,
Am I close?
I think it's closer to 7.
All right,
but
7.
It probably is up there now. Who knows? Every 6 months.
7 billion people on every piece of continental shelf in the world, with 60 to 70% of the population living on or near major oceans. And the rest of them are scattered out on big lakes like Chicago and Milwaukee. If Lake Michigan should take an earthquake pitch hit, you would have a lake that's almost 400 miles long, sometimes as much as 2,000 feet deep, full of water that could be lifted up like a bucket. You would wash Chicago away. Down, just remember that movie with the kid and the big thing that washed into New York and it held up in the public library.
Oh yes, yeah, Art Bell's movie. I think he.
Yeah. That could happen. Now, I'm not saying it's going to. It could happen to an inland lake like Milwaukee or Chicago or Detroit. So, we live in very perilous times. We live in very uncertain times. We live in very unprepared times. We also live in times of economic stress, political nonsense, monetary irresponsibility, diseases are on the uptick. The whole planet is basically falling apart. Now, what can we do about it? Well, you can only look at it from an individual standpoint, because you're responsible for you.
That's right.
Now, if you're married and have a family, now it's not just you, it's you and the missus, and any number of kids, and any number and variety of pets. So suddenly, you damn well better be the person that makes the decisions and pulls the strings and provides the goods, because there ain't nobody else. Plus the people that are going to come to you for help, because they're going to know you stand tall. But see, none of this is easy to even talk about, much less face. Now, let's not look at it from the worst end of it, but let's look at it from the problem end of it. Tell me those people in Oklahoma in that tornado were prepared for anything that happened to them. It's a random toss of the dice, it appears to be. It can happen anywhere. A propane company blows up in Florida. Okay. I don't think there's a direct link here to Planet X, but these are bizarre times that we are living in.
Yeah,
It might have been a run at a terror attack to see if it would work. That's what the word is out now. It's not saying anything. Somebody was smart enough to figure out, blow up a propane tank farm, and I bet you blow the whole neighborhood apart. Maybe it was just human error. But strange things are happening. Okay? Now, where in the hell is he going with this? It's real simple. It begins and ends with you, what you believe, what you know, what you think you know, what you think you should know, and then suddenly you realize that you don't know. That didn't confuse you, did it?
No, not at all.
All right. So, the first thing, if you want to take as serious of the things we say, is just listen to what Michael and I are talking about. You want to tune us out, tune us out. It's your radio, it's your computer, you know,
That's
your power
right.
station. But if you're interested, at least hear us out.
And again,
And
nobody has all the answers, you know.
No, and I don't claim that I do. I'm just telling you some of my observations.
Right.
Everything that we're talking about is in my book that it took me 11 years to research. So all I'm talking to you about is my basic research, what this whole thing is about. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Yeah. In order to unravel a mystery, you have to first of all figure out the riddle to unlock the mystery. You can't begin to just solve a mystery. You have to figure out that every mystery has a riddle. That's the fun of solving mysteries. And my riddle to solve was connecting all the dots to where it all made sense like an overlay. You see? Like when you do a picture puzzle, you find the pieces that fit together, don't you? That's the whole point of putting a picture puzzle together, is finding the pieces and figuring out where they go. And suddenly, you have a picture. Well, when I started out this research, which was, way back in 1983, I first started around 82, 83, following progress of the Iris telescope, and I remember in 83 when NASA announced Planet X was discovered out in space, flying towards the solar system from the region of Orion. They called it Planet X. NASA called it in print, was out for like 72 hours, radio, television, newspaper, and whap, it was gone like a dead cat.
That's right.
Okay. And it didn't resurface again, the story about Planet X, until I think it was April of 1983 or September of 1983, 84, when U.S. News and World Report wrote a follow-up article where, in fact, they named it as a incoming brown dwarf star. I got all these articles reprinted in my book. Everything that Michael and I are talking about, you can check out. All the references are there, all the page numbers, you can check it out. So, then it disappeared again. And then all these stories about Professor James McCanney and the strange ways he died and all this other stuff about talking about Planet X, and the whole storyline got started. And believe it or not, where there was smoke, there was fire.
Yeah.
And I've been researching this now all those years. And I can only tell you that it gets weirder and weirder and even more weirder, if there's such a word. Everyone's involved in it. There's a whole industry involved in either hiding Planet X or trying to expose Planet X. Okay? Now, I will say that they're doing a great job, but when the dam breaks, and it's going to soon, you'll see. It's going to freak a lot of people out. Now, that's when it's going to get interesting in the big city. In Chapter 7 of my book, I talk about the U.S. government and the other governments of the world, what they know, what they should know, what they do and what they don't do, and what they should be doing, what they can't do, and what they're getting away with. All of this in one chapter. It's called From Chaos, Order Out of Chaos. That's the New World Order necessity.
Yeah. They've got all these underground facilities. They've got farms and cities underground. They've got seed banks. I mean, obviously, they know something we don't, or we're not supposed to.
Roland Emmerich gave it away in 2012. Now, I don't think they've got those ships built yet. I mean, we can't even build a rocket to go to the moon. All right, I'm not making fun of us guys. I'm only saying we couldn't afford to build the dam to hold the water back, okay?
If we bring our troops home, we'd certainly be in a lot better shape, but we won't go there.
I'm jabbing at that from the movie. We're going to be arguing about the budget now, taking distractions away from all the other issues. Isn't that convenient?
Oh, yeah, very convenient.
I don't want to get started, Michael.
All right, let's not.
They'll have people throwing rocks at us next.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. So back to storyline. Make it through the September of 2016. If we don't have any major storms, major earthquakes, major tornadoes, or major hurricanes, I'm a little worried about this season. It's been a little erratic, but it sure is alive. There's something brewing down there almost every day now. Not that that's terribly unusual, but it's kind of unusual this early. Remember, the thing doesn't end until November 30th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't just now the end of July. Well, we'll see. Now, I'm hoping the U.S. is not challenged by anything in terms of the tropical storm. But I do think that the Gulf states might be, and I think that Mexico is going to take a couple of hits. I think the season is going to be south. I've been looking at it, I've been watching it, I've been tracking it. Let's see if my prediction is right. I'm not saying every storm is going to go south or straight across Mexico. Slam into the Yucatan, that kind of thing, or into Mexico itself. But if I'm right, then I'll also forecast toward the end of the season that the storms will go north. Beginning of the season, they're going to veer south. By the time November 30th rolls around in that vicinity for a late one, it'll be coming to the north. That's going to be my prediction. I could be wrong, and I hope I am. Okay? So let's see. Now, does leave anything undone with Planet X? Yeah. They're covering it up. They have been covering it up. There's dozens of books about it. It's the best held, never kept secret. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, and when you ask NASA about it, I've seen live conferences where they've been asked this question, and they laugh at it, they wave their hand at it, but the fact is there is a lot of evidence. I remember back in '83 getting this science magazine in my science class in high school, and the teacher would hand it out to us once a week. We'd get it. And this 1 week, there it was. And I was excited. I said, oh, they found another planet. Maybe there's life on it. I didn't know the significance of it until later.
You still have it?
No, I wish I did. I don't.
Oh,
God, I was
it'd be worth a fortune.
Careless kid,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's keep forging ahead here. What's our time mark? Where are we?
Well, in about 10 minutes, we've got a break, and then when we come back, we've got about another 35 minutes after that.
All right. Well, then let's start the wrap up. Talks about a lot of things tonight, a lot of strange things, a lot of weird things, things out of the Bible, things that fly through the air, aliens, flying saucers. We've covered all this stuff tonight. So how does that affect you? Well, all depends what you believe in. If you don't believe in any of this, God bless you. However, if you do want to learn more, and if you think you're curious about the things we're talking about, I'd go check it out. That is the first thing I would be tomorrow morning if I were you after listening to this show and this crazy guy? Well, you will find everything we've talked about tonight is true. Right down to the date. Now, knowledge is easily accessible if you just put the energy to find it. And this knowledge, as I often say, sets you free. What is it? Truth sets you free. Isn't that the phrase, Michael? Truth
That is. Yes, the truth will set you
that
free.
Is so really damn true. Well, I found the truth, and it did set me free on this subject. Thus came the book, Return to Planet X. Because I understand it for what it is now. It has nothing to do with mankind. It has everything to do with the universe and how the universe runs and whatever the forces are that are controlling the solar system. Do not assume for 1 minute the solar system controls itself. You'd be incredibly wrong. There are forces at work out there and in the Milky Way and in the galaxy that we have no idea of. We're not prepared to deal with that. That's not our job. We can't even exist as a humanity here on this planet without destroying ourselves, the planet, and everything we've built. That's what's happening. The whole planet is coming apart. Not only on the outside, but it's coming apart on the inside. The weather, the earthquakes, the disruptions, the oceans, the storms. She's going through her own changes right now. We just happen to be lucky enough to be riding on top of this thing called Earth, which is being subjected to things beyond our understanding or acceptance or willingness to share the truth.
Define forces. What do you mean? Other beings?
No.
Okay.
Well, don't discount that, Michael. You know me and ETs and aliens. How many times we talked about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
And there's part of that, too. Because, okay, all right, let's slide it. Okay. All right, you brought it up, so now you're going to get it. All right? I told you that I also believe that there's going to be a form of what Christians have talked about called the rapture. Now, I don't quite buy it the way some of the evangelicals are preaching it, but I think they're on the right track. I do believe that in the past, God has sent his angels, like he did to Atlantis, and lifted off all the tribes. By the way, all the different Indian tribes that sprung up almost simultaneously, where do you think they all came from? The remnants of Atlantis. Because Atlantis was a chain of islands. It was not a continent. It formed a continent politically, but not geographically. It was all a lot of islands, like the Bahamas and like Bermuda. Those were all peaks of islands. And when Atlantis went down, when the Atlantic ridge collapsed, forming the trenches that are there, more on the eastern side of the Atlantic than the western side, all those structures were taken down. And we're still finding remnants of what was Atlantis. Incidentally, the island of North and South Bimini. And I know about this because I was so gifted. I've spent about 11 years with Jim Richardson and his flight crew at Opelika Flight Center, and my dear friend J. Manson Valentine, who's the world famous botanist, cartographer, He studied bugs and entomology and all kinds of stuff, and Charles Berlitz. Together, they wrote a book called The Bermuda Triangle. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
I was part of that research team, and I travel with them. And, that's what Planet X does. About every 3,600 years, it levels everybody's playing field. See? And if it did come back in 1447, or we think it did, it sure leveled Pharaoh's playing field, didn't it? Now, that seems to have some kind of a God connection to it, because all of a sudden now it's a biblical thing, it's a religious thing, which is just the way circumstance is. So maybe there is a God component to this. I think there is. Why would it be in the Bible? Maybe it's his little way of giving the earth a slap in the face. Who knows? So you see, when I look at this, I look at it from all angles. And it's certainly not for mercenary purposes. I don't get rich from something like this. All I'm trying to do is share the knowledge, share the experience, and say, everybody, we should be better prepared. You should have that 30 to 60 days. Do you really have your 30, 60 day stash of food for each person in your household? And do you have enough water? You have at least 2 gallons a day per person for a month? Do you really have those kind of supplies? I don't even have those kind of supplies. So no, I'm not being unrealistic. But you can make some preparation. You should have a first aid kit handy. You should have your medicine stuff handy. You should have your pet supplies handy. By the way, if you have individual cats, you cannot put 2 cats in a cage. They will kill each other. I'm warning you. Do not ever put 2 cats in a cage, even if they don't have claws. They have teeth. So you need an individual carrying case for each cat. I have 5. I have big ones for the boys and little ones for the girls. I have food in 5-gallon jugs. I have 5 of those. 2 of them are in the trunk of my car, along with 2 gallons of water. I could get stuck in my car. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I'm not being overly cautious. I'm just doing things that make sense. I have a stash of flashlights. 1 up, 1 down, 1 in each bathroom, and I got candles in each room. Why? Because I've been through blackouts here in Home Lake. We got hit with a tornado about 2.5 years ago that nearly sucked me out my front door because I was stupid enough to go out because I wanted to see what a tornado looked like. And it was right above me.
That would be me.
It was about 50 feet above me, and I almost got hit by I think it was a garbage can. It was huge. Anyway, I learn from my experience. Do not play with a tornado or think you can outrun one. It doesn't happen.
Who jumped on the bandwagon of every single thing that flies by my desk. I just, I'm kind of a proof kind of guy, and I think I've seen enough proof now that this object does exist. As far as what it's going to do or what's coming with it, that's the part I can't prove it, so I'm not going to scream and shout. I'm just going to simply say, be prepared for whatever it may be, because you just never know. But with that, we've got about another 20 minutes here with Dr. Rand. Then I've got some things I want to get into in the last half hour of the show. So with that, let's get back to it. The website, latenightinthemidlands.com. Become a member and be informed. And we are taking calls. Everybody was trying to call in the very beginning. And now that I'm taking calls, it's like everyone's just listening. 803-369-3608 if you've got a question for Dr. Rand. And we'll be here tomorrow night with Peter Kling for World Watches as well. But tonight, Dr. Rand. Dr. Rand, we are back. And I guess we're going to get into the what we should do to prepare ourselves part of the night, huh?
Okay. All right. Let's just go right to that.
All right.
First of all, you have to think about what you want to do about changing your present circumstance. I'm not saying it's bad or good. But you need to sit down and you have to figure out who you are, where you are, why you are, and what you have to work with. It's going to be realistic. Look at reality. The hardest thing to do is to be real with yourself. So once you decide to tell yourself the truth and deal with reality, sit down. Hell, get a ream paper if you have to. And start writing out some directives to yourself. What do you need to do? What do I need to check? Do I have supplies? Do I have water? Do I even believe any of this stuff? Maybe I should find out about it. Do I have candles? Do I have matches? What good are candles if you can't light them? Doesn't that kind of speak to itself?
I think
Can't
so.
see how many people have candles. Oh yeah, I got lighters. Yeah, when those run out, you can't buy them anymore. What are you going to light your candles with?
Right.
Just silly stuff like that. It's all in the book. In fact, in the book is a complete way. Chapter 7 deals with the government. You got to read that. It's important. Then it goes chapter 8. It's called self-preparation. There it is right there. The whole chapter devoted to it. Word for word, step by step. The last one is about how to get it and go about securing it. We even talk about firearms.
Right.
I'm not promoting anything. I'm only saying we discuss it. Okay. What we do individually, we do collectively. If the community is prepared, then the community survives. If the community is not prepared, the community goes down. If you're prepared, you might survive. If you don't, you might go down. And so will your family and your pets. Not a nice idea. It's all because of you, of what you did or didn't do. I just came back from 4 wonderful days in New Orleans about 3 weeks ago. And God bless those poor people. They have no idea what they're doing. I toured that whole levee deal up and down the river and all that stuff. They're just as vulnerable right now than they've ever been. Yeah, they rebuilt the dike. Okay, good. Supposedly better. Even a small tidal wave of 100 feet, the entire island. Actually, it is an island, by the way. It's hard to believe. It's all connected by causeways. New Orleans is like kind of a sandbar that sank. That's why it's below the surface of the sea. Literally, it's below the surface level of the sea. It was charming. It was wonderful. The people are so nice. The food was good. The hotels were good. I just, I fear for them. I fear for all these coastal towns. They're not prepared. Look what Sandy did. They're still not rebuilt, Michael. They can't afford to rebuild. Insurance won't rebuild them. Can you imagine if we lose several coastal cities? Big earthquake? Forget it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
They barely rebuilt. I told you I went through the Northridge, California earthquake of January 17, 1994. I'll never forget it. 4:22 in the morning. It hit. By the time it was all over, 2 minutes and 20 seconds had passed by what seemed like an eternity. I had been thrown about like a rag doll. I had a fractured rib. I had a black eye. I had a jammed finger. I had a ankle that was damaged, being thrown in and out of bed and against the headboard. And by the time that was done, the building that I was in was coming down on the side. There's nothing more horrible than to hear all the glass breaking into the bedroom and hear all the doors breaking. The house collapsed. It came off its foundation when it collapsed because it tilted, it came sideways, and everything fell apart. And they dug us out. We were fine. Scared like hell. We were fine. The kid survived too. So he was with me in the bedroom, so he survived. Natural disasters are not going to go away anytime soon. The whole point is if it strike anywhere at any time, see any kind of disaster, propane tanks blow up. I was very curious about that train guy that was going 180 miles an hour into that turn. The train in Spain, wasn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
Some pretty strange things going on with people. If you just track them. Next time we get together, I'll put together some stories. We can look at it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What we got, about 10 minutes?
Yes, we do.
10 minutes. Okay. Anybody out there got a question? I'll be happy to field the question.
No, actually, there are some who dispute some of this stuff, but they don't have the balls enough to call in. So I'll bring it up for you,
Okay.
or for them. Somebody had said that, well, Dr. Rand went under a different name, so, like you're some kind of fake or something. You want to explain that real quick?
Sure.
Please do.
Of course I can explain it. Dr. Jason Rand is what's known as my nom de plume, the registered professional name as an author. There's nothing illegal, immoral, illicit, or complicated about it.
Well, this is coming from people who believe alligator people are coming to eat us. So, but go ahead.
Well, no, it's just that simple. I have a regular birth name, and I have a nom de plume. I also have a professional name as a recording artist. People don't know that. I have nearly 40 gold and platinum records, 2 Grammy nominations. I've done film and television. I don't need... I'm looking right now at a wall full of gold and platinum albums and singles and citations and statues. Do you think, Michael, it really bothers me that somebody wants to know why I have another name? Isn't that a little bit stupid?
Well, it's common in show business, even with authors, to use different names. I have authors who...
I explain it in the book. Why I did it.
Well, they don't read. They watch.
Never read the book.
They watch videos. They don't read.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Who am I? My name is... And then once you've established that basic premise of identity, then you can begin to figure out what it is about what we talked about tonight has either any value or any probity. And if it has some value, then certainly I hope to pique your interest. And if you're not, that's fine too. That's cool. Okay? I got other things to do. I'm working on... we haven't had a chance to talk about the Madam Mig project. I was going to bring you up to date on that.
Oh, yes, please do.
Well, no, I don't know. It's too quick. I don't know, maybe. I'm working on I changed it. Instead of doing a feature film, I'm gonna redirect it, rewrite it, and reshoot it as a 2-day, 4-hour miniseries. Because I'm covering 60 years of critical history. Her life story. So we'll do 96 minutes on the first day, and on the second day we'll do another 96 minutes. And that'll give us 2 full hours of programming on 2 days. And I'll share the script with you guys too if you like. All right? Great script.
Okay.
All right. So that's taking most of my time right now. Besides, I'm doing lecturing, doing interviews like yours, and I need to start writing some more articles. I haven't written any in a long time. So I appreciate everybody hanging on tonight. I appreciate the thoughts and your prayers. And if I've said something to wrinkle your feathers, I apologize. However, reality is reality. And I call the shots as I see them. I'm not politically correct on most things, by the way. So, Michael, don't ask me to do certain things that I will not do that I think are politically correct. Okay?
All right.
All right.
All right.
So, each of you, just think about tonight. You spent time with us. You must have had some reason for hanging on. And when it comes to family and friends, be very careful that you take each person into account as a human being and as a presence and as a soul. Each person has dignity and pride. And each person has weaknesses. And each person has good things and bad things about them that you either like or dislike. However, the same goes for you. Still, what goes around comes around. So the first thing we have to do is get along with ourselves, which means we don't abuse our bodies, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. The second thing is that we have to respect others. Now, when it comes to family members, the web gets even tighter, as it should. Are you going to record this tonight, Michael?
Oh, it is recorded, and it will be available probably within 10 minutes after we're done here tonight.
Oh, okay. If I can, I'd like to have you make me a CD like you always do. Do
Sure.
that?
Oh, sure. Sure will.
Get it off to me. I want to use it in a new presentation. And I want to get it up. It's okay. I put it up on the website too.
Oh, absolutely. I encourage
okay.
it.
All right, buddy. All right, listen. If anybody would like to contact me, go to my website, www.returnofplanet X. I'll take phone calls, 901-236-9660. I'll answer your email. Skipper at att.net. By the way, I get some interesting emails. I know it's from the boys in Washington. I can tell by the lingo. I can tell by the signature. I don't mean written. I mean the signature of the writing. You know, very interesting.
Okay.
We'll have to do a show. We'll have to do a show on that one too. Oh! I got the cutest scene. We got another 2 minutes?
Sure. Yeah, we've got about 4 more.
Let's have fun. Okay. One of the scenes in the screenplay is actually a reality scene from when I first met Marina. I met her at a UFO conference in Tucson, Arizona, in May of 1991, and I had a booth, and I was selling a little tome, about an 18-page booklet on the lecture I was going to give. So I don't know, there's 8, 9, 10 people in line. I mean, you know, there was hundreds of people. I mean, you've been to a UFO thing, all they gather around tables and everybody's talking and smoking and carrying on, and they're buying books and they're buying crystals and all this stuff, right? So these two guys, I look up, and there's these two guys that come bopping in. They look just like the Blues Brothers. just like the Blues, and they had big sunglasses on. But the point is, they weren't Blues Brothers, they were MIBs. Very sophisticated MIBs. You know what an MIB is. I don't have to go into that.
Oh, yeah.
So they pop up, and they're waiting in line just like everybody else, and they came up, and the guy says, "How much are your books?" And I looked up, and I knew who they were. Because I had been watching them, watching me, watching them. It was like spy versus spy. By the way, there were 3 pairs of them there. I had identified all of them within the first 3 hours. I knew each of the 3 pairs, and I almost knew their signatures. All right. I said, well, for you gentlemen, I said, listen, you guys are earning every dollar. I messed them up so bad. I said, you guys are earning every dollar you're being paid. I said, if you really want to know what's going on, why don't we have a cup of coffee together? And they both stepped back and looked at me. And I said, listen, the books are on the house. Who do I make them out to? So they gave me their names, and I signed a book on my little tome to each of them and gave it to them. And they walked away with the dumbest look on their faces, but they were happy. I wrote that scene into the screenplay. It's hilarious. I knew they weren't Blues Brothers, because they didn't look like any musicians I'd ever seen. Okay? But they looked just like the Blues Brothers.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Except they weren't sloppy looking, they were neat looking. Like Tommy Lee Jones did. Remember?
Yeah. All right.
All right. So that's my MIB story from the convention, where I met Marina, which spawned this entire story called Madam Mig. It's the story, it's her life story. She's the only woman Air Force jet pilot in the world to set 107 world records, most of them which have never been beaten by anyone, including America. So we're doing her life story as a 4-hour television miniseries called Madam Mig. So there, that was your update. How's that?
That's great. All right. Well, Dr. Rand, thank you so much for being a guest here tonight. I do appreciate having you on.
We love coming on all the time.
Absolutely. And we'll do it again soon, my friend.
Absolutely. And good luck on your new endeavor.
All right. You as well.
Good night, everybody. Remember, it all begins and ends with you. You are the center of your own universe. You alone are responsible for your life. That's it, buddy. All right, pal?
All right, Dr. Rand. Thank you.
And those that understand it are blessed even more. So, it's worth a read. Certainly at least chapter 8 tells all about wormwood. Now, all right, if there's a Nibiru, we're going to find out. I can't say how long. I can only tell you this. I believe that we make it through September, October. All right, September of 2016 without any major global earthquake, tragedy, or tsunami, or some other stupid thing. By the way, there's been all of those things I just mentioned. We will have escaped the cone of the escape magnetism of this planet disengaging from its dance with the sun. God, I hope that didn't sound. Did you understand that?
I did understand. So, basically it's still in a position where it's screwing with our sun. And
it will it'll gradually cease around April.
What was the name for it? I don't know. Was it Junior Planet or something?
I don't know. I'm glad Pluto's back because I like Pluto, okay? Fine. So, if there's any truth to any of this, it would sure explain a lot. Because we believe that this little baby sun, which in the Book of Revelation is identified as being called wormwood, it tells why. You gotta read it. Chapter 8, the whole chapter, read it. By the way, wrote one more quick thing, and then we'll get off the book thing.
Okay.
It's reported that the Book of Revelation was written through John the Baptist, who was in exile for his life on the island of Patmos in the Aegean Sea, but it was delivered to him by an angel. He delivered the information from Jesus Christ. It says so at the very beginning of the Book of Revelation. It identifies who wrote it. Christ himself says, I wrote it. And if those who read it are blessed or may of 2016.
Is it also messing with some of the outer planets?
Messing with all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's messing with all of them. Of course it does. It's a wave. Okay, let's put it this way. It's a mass wave machine. Its mass alone moves space. It's getting kind of deep. But you got the point, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, once this thing disengages, right now, they're electromagnetically dancing with each other and causing each other irritation. It's like two magnets. You've played with magnets, haven't you?
Yeah, and I was just
one side they jam together, and the other side you can't. There's no way to touch them together.
Yeah, I was just explaining that to my son tonight. He gets a little concerned about these things, and he asks me about them, and I tell him, I say, if it happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. If I find out it's true, I'll tell him. But I refuse to give scare tactics and say, yeah, this is what's going to happen if I don't know for sure.
It's been going on every 3,600 years. One. Mm-hmm. Now, it just happens to be, what is it? We have 7.5 billion people on the planet. Am I close?
Well,
Am I close?
I think it's closer to 7.
All right,
but
7.
It probably
Okay.
is up there now. Who knows? Every 6 months.
7 billion people on every piece of continental shelf in the world, with 60 to 70% of the population living on or near major oceans. And the rest of them are scattered out on big lakes like Chicago and Milwaukee. If Lake Michigan should take an earthquake pitch hit, you would have a lake that's almost 400 miles long, sometimes as much as 2,000 feet deep, full of water that could be lifted up like a bucket. You would wash Chicago away. Down, just remember that movie with the kid and the big thing that washed into New York and it held up in the public library. The dam. Possible that this little baby sun, upon being kicked out into a 3,600-year-long orbit to back and from around that big blue-black monster sun out there, that it caught in tow planet Nibiru. It's very possible. Now, that would explain where it's been and why the story comes back and forth about the Nephilim. Because it's reported in, go back into this, all in the book. Read the book. Took me 11 years to research it and 7 years to write it. So, I can only tell you that anything's possible. Now, there's still one other planet unaccounted for. Then we're down to 9, which we have. Pluto's back in as a planet again. Did you know that?
Yeah, wouldn't they call it a